Most men die with their music still in them, their authentic selves suffocated by a lifetime of emotional constipation. It's a horrifying truth, isn't it? A slow, agonizing fade into quiet desperation. We, adorned with the societal expectations, the invisible shackles. But think about it, how many men truly connect, beyond the superficial bonds of shared beer and the roaring cheers for a fleeting sports victory. How many men can honestly say they have a brother, a confidant, someone who sees them, the real them, beyond the projected image of strength and invulnerability? Are we as men, sleepwalking through life, confusing the fleeting camaraderie of shared hobbies for genuine, soul-baring connection? Are we confusing shallow interactions for the profound intimacy that every human heart craves? I'm here to tell you with absolute certainty that most men are living a lie. A lie whispered from boyhood, reinforced by society and cemented by our own damn fear. We are trapped, willingly or not, in a self-imposed prison of silence. We mistake polite conversation for deep dialogue, backslapping for heartfelt embrace, and shared silence for true understanding. The tragic result: a generation of men, emotionally stunted, isolated, and utterly alone, even when surrounded by a crowd. But today that changes. Today we rip off the suffocating mask. Today we begin the arduous, exhilarating climb out of this self-made abyss. I promise you, in the next few minutes, we will dissect, with brutal honesty, the societal shackles that bind men's emotional expression. We will expose the insidious lies that keep us trapped in this cycle of isolation. And most importantly, I will chart a concrete, actionable course toward forging steel bonds of brotherhood, bonds so strong, so real, that they will shatter the deafening silence that isolates us, that keeps us from becoming the fully realized, emotionally vibrant men we were destined to be. We will forge relationships that transcend the superficial and delve into the depths of shared experience, vulnerability, and unwavering support. Prepare yourself, because this journey will be challenging, it will be uncomfortable, but it will be the most rewarding endeavor you've ever undertaken. It's a path to liberation, a path that will set your soul on fire. The mask of masculinity. From boyhood, the very first time we scrape a knee, skin an elbow, or suffer a playground injustice, we're hammered with the relentless message: be tough, don't cry, show no weakness. It's a mantra, a societal programming so deeply ingrained it becomes the very air we breathe. This incessant pressure creates an emotional straitjacket, a suffocating prison meticulously constructed with bricks of stoicism and reinforced with the steel bars of silence. We learn with brutal efficiency to bury our feelings, to swallow our pain, to present a facade of invulnerability to the world, no matter the internal cost. What are the devastating consequences of this enforced emotional castration? Look around you. A tidal wave of depression, a tsunami of anxiety, a raging inferno of addiction, all desperate, agonizing attempts to numb the searing pain of isolation, the soul-crushing loneliness of a man trapped within himself. The statistics scream a horrifying truth. Men are committing suicide at rates that should shock us to our very core. According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, men died by suicide 3.63 times more often than women in 2019. The numbers vary slightly year to year, but the appalling trend remains consistent, a stark testament to the lethal pressure of unexpressed male emotion. Substance abuse follows a similar, heartbreaking pattern. The National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism consistently reports higher rates of alcohol use disorder and drug-related deaths among men. These are not just numbers. They are our fathers, our brothers, our sons, our friends, silently imploding under the weight of their unspoken burdens. Imagine for a moment a man named John. He's the epitome of success, a high-powered executive, a beautiful wife, two perfect children, a sprawling house in the suburbs. He drives a luxury car, wears impeccably tailored suits, and exudes an air of unshakable confidence. He's the man everyone wants to be, the man who seemingly has it all. But behind the meticulously crafted mask, John is crumbling. He spends his nights staring at the ceiling, a knot of anxiety tightening in his chest, his mind a relentless whirlwind of self-doubt and unspoken fears. He drinks too much, not to celebrate, but to silence the screaming void within. He's terrified of showing any weakness, of admitting he's struggling, convinced that any crack in his facade will lead to utter ruin. He's trapped in his own personal hell, a gilded cage of his own making, convinced that vulnerability is not just weakness but fatal. How many Johns are out there? How many men are walking around, outwardly successful, inwardly disintegrating, suffocating under the weight of their own unexpressed emotions? How many are trapped in this self-imposed prison, convinced that any display of vulnerability is a betrayal of their manhood, a fatal flaw that will lead to rejection and ridicule? It's a pandemic of silence, a hidden epidemic of emotional suffering that's destroying lives and tearing families apart. This outdated model of masculinity, this emotional straitjacket, has its roots in our evolutionary past. For millennia, men were primarily providers and protectors, roles that demanded physical strength, stoicism, and a willingness to suppress fear in the face of danger. These traits were essential for survival in a harsh and unforgiving world. But the world has changed. The saber-toothed tiger is gone, yet we cling to the same outdated behavioral patterns, perpetuating a cycle of emotional repression that is no longer serving us. It's toxic, it's destructive, and it's killing us. The modern manifestations of this toxic masculinity are everywhere. In the aggressive posturing of online trolls, in the rampant misogyny that permeates our culture, in the casual dismissal of men's emotional struggles, in the relentless pressure to man up and suppress any sign of weakness. It's in the locker room banter that demeans women and reinforces the idea that men must be dominant and unemotional. It's in the media's portrayal of men as either stoic action heroes or emotionally stunted buffoons. It's a pervasive, insidious force that shapes our perceptions of what it means to be a man, and it's time we ripped it apart, brick by agonizing brick. Forging authentic connections. First, acknowledge the colossal, earth-shattering lie that has been perpetuated for generations. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is, in fact, the ultimate, unyielding strength. It's the bedrock of true connection, the foundation upon which all meaningful relationships are built. It is the key that will unlock you. Now I will present you a step-by-step guide to shattering the suffocating silence to finally breathe free. Step 1. Find your tribe. I'm not talking about your casual acquaintances, the guys you watch the game with and share a few superficial laughs. No. I'm talking about a band of brothers, a wolf pack, men who are willing to descend into the depths with you, to challenge your comfortable illusions, to hold you accountable to the highest version of yourself. Think of it as assembling your personal SEAL Team 6A group dedicated to unwavering support and relentless growth. This means seeking out men's groups, where raw honesty is the price of admission. Imagine a circle of men, stripped bare of their pretenses, sharing their deepest fears and aspirations. Explore retreats, immersive experiences that force you to confront your limitations and forge bonds in the crucible of shared challenge. Picture yourself scaling a mountain with these men, facing physical and mental exhaustion together, pushing each other beyond perceived limits. These shared intense experiences, far removed from the mundane, create bonds stronger than steel, tempered in the fire of adversity. Or think, perhaps less extreme, a jiu-jitsu academy, a place where you have to trust completely the men every single training. Step 2. Learn to listen. This is not the passive reception of sound waves, but a deep, active engagement with the speaker's entire being. Listen not just to the words they utter, but to the tremor in their voice, the flicker of pain in their eyes, the unspoken emotions that hang heavy in the air. Become a master detective of the human soul. Practice empathy, the art of stepping into another man's shoes, feeling what he feels, understanding his perspective without judgment. Employ active listening, a technique where you reflect back what you hear, ensuring you've truly grasped the message. For example, instead of just nodding along, say, "It sounds like you're feeling incredibly frustrated and betrayed by your business partner's actions, and that you are feeling a deep sense of loneliness." This shows that you are listening on an emotional level. Ask powerful, penetrating questions that ignite deeper conversations. Don't settle for surface-level chatter. Instead of asking how's work, try what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now and what's keeping you up at night. Or what's one thing you're proud of accomplishing this week and what did it teach you about yourself? Or even, if you could change one thing about your life right now, what would it be and why? These questions cut through the superficial and demand authentic responses. Step 3. Dare to share. This is where the rubber meets the road, where courage is paramount. Start small with something that feels slightly uncomfortable, a vulnerability that makes your palms sweat a little. Perhaps you share a minor setback at work, a fear you haven't voiced before, or a dream you've kept hidden. It is absolutely imperative to start. Gradually, as you build trust and experience the liberating power of authenticity, increase your vulnerability. Share your bigger struggles, your deeper wounds, your unspoken longings. I remember, hypothetically, once gathering my closest confidants men I'd battled alongside in business and life, and revealing a deep-seated fear of failure that had haunted me for years. The weight that lifted from my shoulders was immense, replaced by a sense of connection and understanding I'd never experienced before. The act of sharing, of exposing my vulnerability, paradoxically made me stronger, more resilient, more connected to my brothers. It was a turning point, a moment of profound liberation. Step 4. Embrace the discomfort. Let's be clear. Building true connection is not a walk in the park. It's a brutal, uphill climb, fraught with challenges and moments of intense discomfort. It requires unwavering courage, relentless persistence, and a willingness to confront your own inner demons, the shadows that whisper doubts and insecurities. There will be awkward silences, misinterpretations, and moments where you feel exposed and vulnerable. Embrace it all. Understand this fundamental truth. Temporary discomfort is the price of admission to long-term strength and fulfillment. Just as lifting weights causes temporary muscle soreness, leading to greater strength, pushing through emotional discomfort builds resilience and forges deeper connections. Think of it as emotional weightlifting, strengthening your capacity for intimacy and authentic expression. The pain is temporary. The reward, a life of profound meaning and connection, is eternal. Do not run away from challenges, welcome them. The time for silence is over. Hear me, men. The world is crying out, desperately craving men, real men who are fully alive, not these hollow shells walking around, emotionally constipated and stunted. It needs men who possess not just physical strength, but the raw, untamed power of emotional intelligence, men who are authentically, unapologetically connected, not just to their own inner landscapes, but to each other. Shatter the chains. I'm talking about those invisible, insidious chains of societal expectation, those rusted shackles forged in the fires of outdated toxic masculinity. Smash them to pieces. They tell you to be stoic, to be silent, to bury your feelings deep down where they fester and rot. That's a lie. An insidious, destructive lie designed to keep you small, weak, and controlled. Forge bonds of steel with your brothers. Create relationships so strong, so resilient, that they can withstand any storm, any challenge. I'm talking about connections forged in vulnerability, tempered by shared experience and solidified by unwavering support. These are not your casual acquaintances, the guys you watch the game with. These are your warriors, the men who will stand shoulder to shoulder with you in the trenches of life, the men who will call you out on your bullshit, and the men who will hold you up when you are too weak to stand on your own. Dare. I dare you. I double dog dare you to be vulnerable. To rip off the mask, to expose the raw, beating heart beneath the armor you've so carefully constructed. Dare to be real. To show the world your true self, your imperfections, your fears, your hopes, your dreams. Don't flinch. Don't apologize. Own it. Because in that authenticity, in that raw, unfiltered expression of your soul, lies your true power. Dare to live a life of profound meaning and connection. Not a superficial existence, skimming across the surface of things, but a life lived deeply, intentionally. A life infused with passion, purpose, and an unshakable connection to yourself, to your brothers, and to the world around you. The choice is laid out before you, stark and unforgiving. Will you continue to suffocate in silence, a prisoner of your own making, slowly withering away, dying with your music still trapped inside? Or will you rise? Will you unleash the untamed, magnificent man you were always meant to be? Will you choose a life of vibrant connection, of unshakable brotherhood, of profound and lasting impact? Will you answer the call? The time to decide is now.